This is how to create a drop shadow for your monument. So first you need to obviously to have your background photograph open. You need to have your monument cut and then pasted into that same file. And you can see they're on two separate layers. I've already resized and placed my monument where I want it to be. And now I just need to go ahead and make the shadow. So step one is to create a new layer. That is this icon down here. You can see that it says create a new layer. I'm going to click that. So I want to now hold control while clicking on the small box on the layer that has my monument. So that's this one. So control and then click. And you can see it selected my monument. I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to fill the area with black. So over here I want to find my paint bucket. And I want to make sure that I have black in this top square, so I'm going to just flip these so black is here. And so for step 3, I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to fill the area with black on my new layer. So I have my paint bucket tool selected. I have black as my foreground color, and I'm going to make sure I'm on layer 2, which is my new layer. When I click inside the selection, it's going to go ahead and fill that with black. This time, I want to deselect and actually move this layer underneath the sculpture. So for step 4, I'm going to just press Control D. That'll get rid of the marching ants. Then I'm going to take layer 2 and drag it underneath layer 1. Now you can't even see it, but if I get my arrow tool and I move over my sculpture, you'll be able to see that black copy of it is underneath it right here. Now I'm going to distort layer 2, which is my black shadow. So click Edit, click Transform, and then click Distort. Now you're going to grab these corners and drag them around so that it looks like your shadow is laying on the ground. You can use the shadows already present in your image to help you decide how it should go. So you can see here there's some shadows underneath the awning here. So I might want to make this lay down on the ground. I might need to pull some of these out. Maybe I want to grab this. So just move it until it seems like it makes sense. You're going to have to rely on what you know about experiencing the world to know what kind of shadow makes sense in your image. But I like how this one looks laying down on the ground there. So when I'm happy with it, I click Enter. And now I'm going to change the opacity of my shadow so it's not pitch black. So here is my opacity. I can set it to a number that sort of matches my existing shadow. So I already have some shadows here. This looks like a decent gray, but you can play with the slider and adjust it to whatever you think makes sense for your image. Finally, you want to blur it a little bit so that it's not so crisp on the edges. So if you go into your filters, you're going to go ahead and select, I need to make sure I'm on my layer 2. Now filter. And I want to select blur and just blur more. And if you continue to select that over and over and over, it'll continue to blur it more and more and more. But it's slight and it's on the edges. So if I zoom in a lot, it might be easier to see the pixelation happening on my drop shadow that's going to be a blur when I'm zoomed way out. That is how to add your drop shadow to your monument within your image.